Alright guys, so for today we are reacting to a video called Gen Z is in their adulting quarter life crisis. Yeah, I guess we're about almost, I'm close to that age. But yeah, I guess most of Gen Z is in their almost mid-20s. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to think that like most millennials are almost 40. I still think of them as like 20-year-olds sometimes. I don't know. Just there's like a slight difference between our generations, but like there's not really that much outside of like I don't know. Maybe they're starting to wrinkle. Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe they're starting to look old. Because when it comes to personality, I can't really tell that much. But yeah. Anyway, let's just get into it.
Today we're going to be talking about Gen Z going through their adulting phase. They're getting older now. They're aging out. They are no longer that demographic anymore.
Okay, she's wrong. We still are. The generation behind us is Gen Alpha, and they're still like barely out of diapers. Like we're not that old. I'm in my early 20s, so it's like, come on.
This is the most humbled I've ever felt in my life. I'm literally holding resumes, a stack of them, so that I can go in person to places and say, are you guys hiring? It's honestly a little bit embarrassing because I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what? This is not what I expected. I graduated college with 2 degrees in communications and acting. I speak 3 languages. Oh, this sucks. Like, I just want to be a TikToker if I'm being so for real with you. But I can't be delusional anymore. Like, I literally need to make money.
What's up, YouTube? It's Tiny C, and I'm back with another YouTube video. I find this to be a very interesting topic because I feel like every generation goes through their quarter life crisis. I feel like I just came out of my quarter life crisis, so it's very much relevant, and I want Gen Z to have his...
It's not even like she says like quarter life crisis. Like most of us haven't even made it to the quarter yet. It's like maybe like a 1/8 life crisis, or like a 1/5, or a 1/32 life crisis. But yeah, I wouldn't call it a crisis per se. I mean, I do agree that Gen Z is very jaded, but I don't think it's like... I think we have more ahead of us than behind us is what I'm trying to say. For, perspective.
Smooth of an experience through this phase in their life as possible. So the first thing we're going to have to figure out is, what is a quarter life crisis? The quarter life crisis is a period of uncertainty and questioning that typically occurs when people feel trapped, uninspired, and disillusioned during their mid-20s to early 30s. People say that they might feel stuck in a dead-end job while all of their friends advance their careers, or wonder why they cannot seem to make romantic relationships last while other people are getting married and having children. I think other elements of this might be comparison, seeing your friends, family, social media influencers, just having a successful life, living luxuriously, going on vacations, getting promotions, and then comparing their life to yours, and that comparison making you feel horrible about yourself.
Yeah, so to expand on what she says, yeah, I think almost any generation outside of like boomers has this like problem with like constantly comparing yourself to other people in any stage of your life. Even before social media, we were comparing ourselves to other people, but I think with social media it just makes it 1,000 times worse, because now we have to like compare ourselves to millions upon maybe potentially billions of other people around the world, and everyone's going through their own life struggles and journeys and situations. And it's really easy to get jealous, especially when you are feeling depressed and your natural instinct is to either scroll on TikTok to numb the feeling of depression, or to just, distract yourself from your reality. But what that intends to do is basically just makes you feel way worse, because now you have to compare yourself to like everyone else going to like freaking vacation, traveling, doing all these like active sports and stuff, having all these good things going for them. But like, yeah, that's not healthy. You gotta cut yourself off at a certain point with it. Like you have to find a different thing to do when you're depressed. But yeah, like for a lot of Gen Zers, and this also used to be the case for me, so I'm not judging, but the go-to when is like when you start feeling like alone or depressed, you will scroll on TikTok, or well, now I do YouTube. It's a little bit better, just because I can go for my subscribers. I don't have to like watch everyone else do their life, you know?
Feeling like you're behind, feeling like just life is slipping away from you without you having any control of stopping it. I feel like another element of the quarter life crisis is just that realization that you are no longer the youth of the world. They're getting older now. They're aging out. They are no longer that demographic anymore. It's all very hard. And
I still think being in your 20s is still pretty young, especially if you're like in your early to mid 20s. Like, it doesn't, any younger than that, then you're just a straight up minor. Like, we have to kind of get this example of our heads that being 25 is old. Like, would you prefer me to be 17? Don't answer that. But would you prefer me to be freaking underage at that point? It's like, okay, I can only go so far back before I'm a little kid again. You know, I can't keep saying I'm old, I'm old, I'm old. It's like, you haven't even lived a quarter of your life yet. You're not old. You're not even you're not middle age.
I think that all is coming together for them at once, and it's just hard to ignore. In comparison, what was adulting to millennials?
Why do millennials say adulting? It's because we're doing things that adults do, but not getting adult results. See, when the boomers were coming up, they worked all the livelong day, and what they get for it, they got a house. But when my generation works all the livelong day, we get maybe a granola bar. If it's on sale today.
Adulting was really about realizing how difficult it is to be an adult, realizing you have to pay for bills, buy gas, how expensive it is, how expensive groceries are. Is this what everyone else experienced? Just that, the gravity of the situation. I feel like millennials were definitely called cringy and just made fun of for all of the ways that they tried to deal and cope with the situation of growing up. And it was called cringy, and it was just looked at mockingly by Gen Z.
So this is adulting. Nobody told me it was going to be this frickin' hard. And you might be wondering, what are you talking about? I can't believe I'm saying this, but my hubsters made me pay the phone bill. Why must he cause me this pain? Does he really think I know what I'm doing? All I know how to do is drink pumpkin spice lattes and cappuccinos. Those are nuts. So calling me crazy, but I think when it comes to technology, that's a man's job. I am not adult. I am small girl. Somebody get this man some common sense. Common sense alert.
I think they're going to soon realize just, you have to cope. There's just...
Okay, yeah, that one was kind of cringy. It was really cringy, honestly. But that's like, I understand like a lot of people see those type of TikToks the most. I don't. My algorithm is completely different than that. I don't think I can use TikTok if that's what I'm seeing all day long. It's just people making weird... I think they think they're cute. It's not cute. It was cute when like you were a younger. I don't think it's cute when you're like an adult making those cringy faces all the time. It's just contorted.
You gotta cope. A lot of the things I hear about Gen Z is that they're lazy, that they're sensitive. A lot of people report that they're hard to work with, and every generation has a bad rap, but this is Gen Z's stereotypes. And obviously, Gen Z has some words about it, like, of course they don't think that's them. And hopefully through this video, I'm able to shed a more positive and hopeful light on Gen Z and the situation that they're going through, because everything just needs a little bit more humaneness and just a little bit more empathy and understanding, because everyone's going to go through it. You might end up being in their shoes one day, right? I think the first topic to handle is loneliness. This is the first thing that I see a lot when it comes to Gen Z and just all of the crisis struggles that they're going through at the moment. There's definitely a loneliness epidemic. A lot of people are expressing how difficult it is for them and how hard it is to have genuine friendship, genuine connection, genuine romance.
And that is because of the pandemic. Like, I think this was like kind of sort of a problem before the pandemic, but it wasn't as bad. I think that was just because of social media and, you know, what comes with it. But the pandemic kind of put the nail in the coffin for Gen Z when it comes to socialization and the impending feeling of constant loneliness. I remember, like, when the pandemic happened, I was in my first year of, what was it called? College. Yeah, that's what it's called. But yeah, I was in my first year of college when the pandemic started, and like, I entered college during the lockdown and pandemic or whatever, and that was a nightmare. Like, I remember the first day going to school, it was very overly controlled. Like you had to do social distancing, get yourself vaccinated once a week. That was hell because it was like we made a joke saying that like getting vaccinated was like going to church because we had to do it once every week, and the only time you can really do it was like on a Monday or a Sunday or something like that. So yeah, we called it the new church of Gen Z is getting is getting like tested. That's what I meant to say, not vaccinated, but like tested. We also had to get vaccinated too, throughout like those 2 or 3 years that the pandemic was still happening, which was hell in and of itself because you had to wait in long lines and everyone was had to. There's just a bunch of problems that arised. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, college was not fun. Most people were drinking and getting high, not to have fun, but just to cope with it. And you can kind of tell the difference. Like people were just drinking on their bed in the morning. You see people in Zoom just taking a shot of tequila or whatever, or just in bed, laying down underneath the covers. It was really depressing. It was sad. Even the teachers kind of had not they had problems with it, but it was kind of just so like they really felt bad for us because we had no other choice. We were kind of locked in our rooms at a certain point, and then we were I'm about to do a whole different video on this. There's a lot that went on with the pandemic and college students. So I'm gonna have to do a whole other video if you want that to happen. But yeah, basically Gen Z is fucked when it comes to loneliness. I think on the other hand, a lot of parents didn't teach their kids how to maintain relationships, or I think Gen Z for the most part was raised to kind of think about yourself and not really to think about other people. Like it wasn't really ingrained in you as much to consider other people outside of the age of they'll teach you this up until like the age of like 6 or 7, and then at that point they never teach you how to maintain complex relationships. They don't give you advice on it. It was kind of like, okay, think for yourself, do for yourself, live for yourself kind of thing, and they kind of hammered that in, but they didn't really teach you how to maintain connections and bonds with other people. And some parents just didn't really care enough to even give them basic human gratitude. Like it's kind of just like nothing's reciprocated. There's always one person who's doing all the work, and then the other person is just not really reciprocating at all, and that's a huge problem too. I don't know what attracts those two people together, but you usually end up with one person who's very caring, loving, supportive, and the other person's the exact opposite, where they could give less of a damn than a rock, but yeah, I didn't mean to rant on that long. It's just I can do layers and layers and layers into the loneliness of Gen Z. I might do that because that might make for like really good content. Now that I think about it.
Romantic partnership, all of the above. The first thing to really observe with this whole loneliness epidemic is the fact that Gen Z went through the pandemic probably at a critical point in their life where
Yep.
they're entering college, exiting high school, and maybe some of them were entering the workforce.
That was me.
That means that at a time where they could have been building community, they were stuck inside.
Yeah, we lost our community.
Everyone gets lonely.
That's almost like a daily struggle.
I often feel very lonely in the city.
It's not even a struggle anymore. It's kind of just like, oh, okay. Like I am more comfortable with loneliness than I am with eating breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning. I would refuse to eat breakfast, but at this point, loneliness is kind of just like breathing air. It just is what it is.
What does it feel like?
Feels like being lost, like in a maze.
With no hand reaching out to you, and you just don't really feel like climbing back out, or you just can't climb back out.
It feels like that feeling of like you're about to cry, but you just don't need to.
And another very interesting thought that I saw on the loneliness epidemic was the fact that we're all looking at our phones. I mean, it's the same idea of the addiction to social media, but a professor was saying that, when you're waiting for the bus, like, what do? Well, you look around, you take in life at peace, essentially. And nowadays, a lot of people, a lot of kids, Gen Z, so on and so forth, they're on their phones, they're scrolling on TikTok, like they're not taking in life. And I think that there's an anxiety that comes with that when you're not able to just sit, be still, be mindful, be okay with your thoughts, essentially be okay with yourself and being alone will exacerbate that feeling of loneliness, because when you finally are you tired your brain out from scrolling endlessly and you have to just sit there and listen to those thoughts, it's going to feel really lonely and it's going to be really dark, because the more you suppress those thoughts, those feelings, eventually it's going to burst, and then that's when those breakdowns happen, because you have to let it out. You have to be okay with hearing those thoughts, experiencing being alone. because it's a natural part of life. We are alone most of the time. We numb ourselves with social media, and that just exacerbates that lonely feeling. We need to move away from that addiction to social media to really heal a feeling that a lot of people are experiencing, because Gen Z isn't alone on that one. And I feel like it really is important for Gen Z to have these connections as they're going through their quarter life crisis, because sometimes just having someone to commiserate with is what's going to get you through. I think when it comes to loneliness, I feel like Gen Z will have to find a way to make friendships, whether it's online with other people that are saying that they're having similar experiences, and reaching out and just pushing past, because I feel like this is just what society looks like now. Gen Z's.
Yeah, and also just a tip for anyone out there. I think a lot more people need to hear this. Don't trauma dump with someone that you're barely friends with. Say that again. Do not trauma dump with someone you're barely friends with, because that just, from the jump, you just automatically make the friendship feel like it's an obligation. Like, they'll feel guilty if they don't interact with you, because now it's like, I feel obligated to be an emotional support tool or whatever, instead of like easing them into it, you know? Like, what happens to just easing people into the stresses of life? You don't have to like trauma dump every single thing the first or second interaction you have with someone. I don't know why people do that. It is very annoying. It is very desensitizing, because you're going to get to a certain point where you just don't care. Not because you don't want to care. You want to care. It's just after hearing the same song and dance over and over and over and over and over again from many different people throughout your life, it kind of does. It is a numbing thing. And for some reason, this is like Gen Z's primary choice of interaction is through trauma. Like, they don't want to just say hi. They have to say, hi, did you know so-and-so did this and this and that and third, and this happened to me when I was younger, and this happened to me now, and I was in the Vietnam War in 1902, and blah, 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 blah. It's just a lot of, it's a lot. Especially if you don't see it coming, and it just like whiplashes you. It's a lot. So, you know, and this is mostly for people who make friends through social media. It's just, I don't do it. I'm just a victim of having to be the voice, the ear that hears all. You know what I'm saying? I have to hear all the trauma and bit of emotional support, like, in the exact moment that it's being said to me. And sometimes I'm like busy doing other things, and these are not my friends. These are just people who I barely know. So it's kind of just it's a lot at once. You have to sprinkle it in. You can't just dump it all at once.
Is going to have to find more ways, different ways to connect with people and burst their bubble, like go out of their comfort zone and try to make friends if that's something that they want. And I think the second thing we're seeing is visual aging. There's just so much like theories that can happen with why Gen Z might look older than millennials. Do I actually personally think Gen Z looks older than millennials? No, I don't really think that, because I feel like there's so many people in this world. To generalize that a generation looks older than the previous one is just like, come on, guys. I'm sure there's some that look older, but that probably always was the case. But just in general, reasons why you might look older than you should, these are the potential reasons. You're eating too much processed foods. If you eat too much processed foods, you are not getting the nutrients your body needs in order to keep you looking young and to keep your body healthy and young. You need to work out, you need to eat whole foods so that you get the vitamin D, you get vitamin C's.
What's she talking about? Those are whole foods. There's a whole bowl of breakfast cereal, a whole pizza, well, 2 slices, whatever, whole donut, whole muffin, whole block of cheese. Come on now. These are whole foods. I mean, that's someone's entire farm right there. The 10 vegetables. Someone's entire crop for the entire year is in that little can. Come on, that's whole food.
You get the collagen, you get all of the necessary ingredients in your body that will make you and keep you looking young. You have to stay away from excessive plastic surgery, because I feel like plastic surgery is aging people. I'm telling you, the BBLs, the facelifts, the lip plumpers, the nose jobs, the this, the that, the Botox, all of that ages you. It's going to make you look older, because previously I think plastic surgery was for women that were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s. But now it's like people are just exiting the womb practically and starting to get into plastic surgery, and that's going to age you. Like, some of these celebrities that are young look a lot older than they should. And I think it's because of plastic surgery. Too much. You're altering with your face too much before your time, before it's even necessary yet. Another reason might be stress. Like we mentioned, Gen Z is going through a whole lot of stress. They entered a critical point in their life when the pandemic hit, and I think that will cause a whole lot of stress, and that's going to age you.
Stress makes your genes age faster. So we have these little tips on the edge of our DNA strands. They're called telomeres. And just like shoelace tip stops the shoelace from getting frayed, telomeres stop the DNA from getting damaged. And as our cells divide over time, these telomeres naturally get shorter. This telomere shortening can leave the DNA exposed to fraying and damage, basically aging. The number one thing which causes the telomeres to shorten is stress. In fact, this study showed that new doctors who started residency training will have their DNA age by 6 times the rate of the normal population because their telomeres shrunk 6 times faster when introduced to the stress of doctor life.
Stress is just linked to so many negative health outcomes that you have to keep yourself as calm as possible. Easier said than done, but that's just
I also think it, like, if you live in a big city, you're going to be more prone to this because just like this, it's the little things that build up over time, you know, like the little slight road rage here and there, just the constant things you have to deal with. And like, I know that most of adulthood is just suppressing anger for the most part because, you know, every little thing is kind of slowly pissing you off. And you get to a point for, you go from wanting to get some fresh air to just wanting to be home forever. And I think the stress kind of gets to you. And people have different ways of coping with it, but like, you're going to still feel the emotion initially. So if you're constantly feeling that stimulus over and over and over again from your environment, you might need to change your environment if you can.
Another potential theory as to why Gen Z looks older. Next, I want to discuss Gen Z in the workforce. This is a bigger section, a bigger topic to digest and to really talk about because it's really nuanced and it has a lot of moving parts. I feel like every generation can commiserate with the fact that the workforce gets worse and worse. The landscape of attaining a job just gets worse and worse. I just exited it. It took me a year and some change to get the job that I wanted. The job I went to school for, that's the one that took super long to get. And I feel like it just gets worse and worse and harder.
We need to talk about this because I'm a Gen Z who has boomer parents, and what she says is true. Boomers are stuck in the past so hard that they can't even comprehend that us, like Gen Z and millennials, it's not just that we're lazy and we don't want to work hard, it's that even if we worked as hard as possible, we still can't afford to live right now. Hard work isn't enough anymore. And I hear these comments all the time as someone whose like parents, friends are all that age. They think that we're all just lazy. And they refuse to realize that like times have changed. It is not the same as when you were our age. Just to start, let's look at the rise of the average home value over the years versus the rise of the average household income, as compared to when boomers were our age and able to easily afford rent. So boomers would have been our age sometime between the 70s and the late 80s here. So this is the average price of housing or a house at that time, and this is the average income of the household, right? Here it is now. Do you see the difference? Do you see how, like, yes, it was hard back then. It's just not even comparable.
So many TikToks about people applying, almost into an abyss of like, Are they even really hiring? Is this a real job post or is it a lie? Because that's just really how it is. It's very grim right now, and I don't think it's getting any better anytime soon.
No.
I think we're all noticing and experiencing the difficulties that is entering the workforce
and adding another thing with the workforce. You have to start working smarter. You cannot work harder because you're only one person. You can only output so much energy at once. And if the work that you're putting in is not giving you the certain output that you're looking for, you need to switch up your strategy. You need to learn how to pivot. A lot of Gen Zers, I don't want to say a lot of Gen Zers, I think some Gen Zers struggle with pivoting. Like, you need to know how to switch things up. You need to know how to go into certain different avenues. I'm starting to see even boomers now who have to still work, who can't retire. They have to fucking pivot because they're starting to realize that, it wasn't as easy as it was when I was younger. Not just because my body's breaking down, but because of how much your employers are requiring for one person like you to do, which is almost impossible for how much they're paying me. You're still broke. You still don't have enough money. I have to have different side hobbies side businesses, whatever, because this is not really working for me. And I'm not really a huge fan of hustle culture, but I feel like in small doses it does work over time. Because these 9 to 5s, yeah, they're not doing it. They're not doing it anymore. Especially like the deductions in your paycheck too. It's kind of just like now you're making even less money, and then you got to put money aside for taxes and stuff like that. You still got to do that regardless, but it's just like how much they take out is comparing to how much work you put into it. It's like you're not really making that much for some of these jobs, especially if you're like a blue collar worker. You're really not making that much, and then on top of that, you're in harsh, dangerous working conditions. So yeah, it's just I can see why people do a lot of side hustles. I do side hustles too sometimes. You just have to do what you have to do to survive.
Getting the job that you want, getting the pay that you want, and actually putting that degree to the proper use.
Gen Z is prioritizing living over working because they've seen the legacy of broken promises in corporate America and the American dream. It has changed. You got to think about back in the 80s, the boomer generation, when they were pitched the American dream, it was juicy. It's not juicy today. Back in the day, they would say, go to school, get good grades, you get a higher education for like $5,000, work 40 years for 40 hours a week, and we're going to give you so much. Oh, well, what's in this package? Well, first of all, you're only going to have to work 40 hours a week. You're going to have your night and weekends. You're going to be able to hang out. You can have 2 or 3 kids. You're going to be able to afford a house. You're going to be able to own a house and pay it off in 30 years. It's only going to be about 18 to 20% of your income. It's going to be beautiful. In 40 years, we're going to give you a 401k pension or Social Security, whichever route you take. You're going to be able to take 2 weeks vacation. It's going to be beautiful. What do you say? You know what? I'm going to sign up for that. This sounds amazing. In 2024, let's see that same pitch. So this is the American dream. Absolutely. So if I work 40 hours a week for 40 years, I get to buy a house. Well, no, you can't afford a house anymore, but you can rent, but you do get food delivery, Netflix, and a cell phone, so come on. Okay, so I'll rent forever, but at least college is cheap. No, college is $60,000. Well, wasn't that what my parents' house cost in the 80s? Okay, you're getting off track here, kids. First of all, it's because you're lazy, and you're not working hard enough, okay?
There's just this legacy of broken promises. We are told
Yeah.
to make a lot of money, work hard, get promotions. Where's the promotions at? Where's the hiring at? Everything is just not what we were sold. Gen Z is realizing that they need 6 figures to live that life that they want to live. Like, of course, it's not necessary everywhere in America, but broadly, there's this idea that you're going to need 6 figures to live that life, to be able to go on vacation sometimes, buy the clothes you want sometimes, splurge, eat nice food, not worry about the light bill, the electricity, all of these sorts of things. Not having to worry about it comes at a price tag.
Yeah.
And that price tag is just way higher than it ever was before. It's like you thought one thing, and then it's your turn to pay that bill, and you're like, dang, I need more money. 5 figures isn't going to cut it. All of this is accumulating at once, and Gen Z's observing it.
And I can do more videos about this too if you want. But I think the boomer generation definitely did screw us over in terms of even today, like you can look at the laws they're passing. It's basically just to F us over. Even for like doing the basic processes such as getting a promotion, getting a job, that takes longer. It's a lot more competition. It's a lot harder. Yes, you can get a job, but you have to get a job that pays for your existence. You can't just get like any type of job at a certain point. I'm starting to realize this as you get older, your life gets more and more expensive, and that comes with and this, I guess I can just pivot a little bit over here and then say something about like Hollywood and how a lot of actors who are like very famous, they have to maintain a certain standard of living because now they can't go back to the hood or to the ghetto or anything like that because now they're too famous. Not everyone knows you have money. Not everybody knows you and feels like they have that parasocial relationship to you. And it's kind of scary because it's like, yeah, when you're famous, you can keep yourself at a distance from certain people. But if you are not making a certain amount of money and you do have to end up moving or selling your house and going to like basically a regular population neighborhood, that's going to be dangerous. You can no longer go back there. It's not going to be safe for you anymore. So you do have to maintain a certain level of living. And I get what you're going to say. You're going to say don't live above your means. Well, when the basic means just to survive are so high to the point where you're putting like almost 80% of your income towards that, you're not going to be able to improve over time. And I think we're seeing this on such a massive scale to the point where like you can't really deny it anymore. It's kind of just like you have people in their mid-30s, late 30s. I've had Uber drivers tell me, and this is not even just Gen Z either, like even millennials, like, let's just be honest, shit happens in life. Things don't go the way you plan to. Sometimes you end up getting screwed over completely by corporations, someone you love, someone you hate, regardless. And that's just reality. Life is not going to go 100% the way you planned it. It never really is. It doesn't take much in this world for your life to completely crumble down. It doesn't take much at all. It takes a long time to build something. It takes 2 seconds for something to crumble down to pieces. And what I'm trying to say is there's not enough wiggle room for Gen Z to ever explore or excel, to be honest with you. Like, if you have no actual support from a parent who's willing to let you stay at their place, pay bills and stuff like that until you get your money up, because some people are just getting kicked out at 18 and they have to fend for themselves. What the hell can you do at 18? Nothing. You can get tried for life, in jail and prison at 18. You can't really do much else other than that, for the most part. You can go to a freaking I don't think you can go to a casino at 18. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you can't really. We have all these like little miniature freedoms, but nowadays it's getting taken away, and now there's like all these like little blockades for everything. Like, okay, now you have to pay an entrance fee. Okay, now you can only be here for a certain amount of time. Okay, well, if you want to be here for a long time, they have to talk to so and so. And there's all this red and yellow tape for nothing. It used to just be like in bureaucracy where this stuff existed, but now it exists on a common daily basis where it is hard to get anything done. It's hard to build any wealth. It's hard to have enough wiggle room to know what you like, to discover what you want to get into. You have 18-year-olds picking majors that they don't even know that they even want because you're 18 and 2 days ago you were just freaking filling out your SAT forms. Like, it just makes no sense. And at a certain point, it's kind of like, from a third-person view, it is kind of a joke to kind of put this all in Gen Z, even though we're barely in our fucking 20s. And it's like, can you really blame Gen Z, or do you blame the generation that raised them? Your kids only know what you taught them. Like, you're not going to know more than what your parents taught you at 18. You are a product of your parents' parental skills, pretty much. I don't know why they're blaming you. And I think the reason why it's easier to blame Gen Z, they do it as like a scapegoat thing, when they realize that, like, you have, up until you're 18, you have very little control over your fucking life. Very little control. Like, you either have or you don't have, pretty much. And you will learn that the hard way when you go through college, and you start to realize that, hey, I'm lacking this, that, and the third. And you will go through your, resentful phase. But, and then that might contribute to the adult quarter-life crisis, too, because, that's a part of it. But, yeah, it's just, I'm going to leave it here at part one, and I'll do a part two later. I think it's a really great place to leave it off, because it's kind of, like, triggering me a little bit, but, yeah, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. Like for part two. I might do a part two anyway because I want to wrap this up. I want to do it when I'm in a better, not headspace, but like in a better, I can articulate it a little bit better because now I'm going off on tangents. I should do like a whole video essay on this. I think I could do a really good video essay on this. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.